Welcome back to the deep dive. Have you ever found yourself mid-sentence, maybe, a little flustered, sort of wrestling with whether to say a or an,
Oh, absolutely.
or maybe debating if "thes" is uh, truly necessary in that spot?
Happens all the time.
You're certainly not alone there. These tiny words, a and they're so small they often just, blend into the background.
Yeah. Invisible almost.
Yeah, yet they hold incredible power, really fundamentally steering the meaning of nearly every sentence we utter or hear.
They really do, like little signposts for meaning.
It's like that invisible current beneath a boat, isn't it?
Mm.
Subtly but profoundly guiding its direction. So our mission today is to transform those moments of hesitation into, well, confident, crystal clear communication.
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to embark on a deep dive into the definitive rules and actually the surprisingly intricate applications of these articles. And
Mhm.
we're drawing directly from the wealth of source material we've carefully unpacked for you. The goal isn't just, correctness for correctness' sake. It's about achieving genuine fluency and precision in English.
Yeah, understanding the why.
Exactly. Understanding not just what rule to apply, but why it matters so much.
What's truly fascinating here is how these seemingly minuscule words, articles, are absolutely fundamental to English grammar, just foundational.
Right.
They act like highly sophisticated GPS signals for our nouns, basically telling us whether something is definite or
Yeah.
indefinite, specific or general.
GPS signals, I like that.
Yeah, and without them, or, when they're used incorrectly, our communication can become surprisingly ambiguous, maybe unintentionally hilarious,
Or just awkward.
or at the very least just sound incredibly unnatural. Their crucial role extends far beyond merely sounding correct.
Right.
They're vital for both understanding and perhaps even more importantly, for being understood with real precision.
That's the key.
Think of trying to navigate a bustling city without any street names or building numbers. That's a bit like attempting to comprehend English without the guiding hand of articles. They point the listener or reader directly to the exact meaning you intend.
Or send them off in completely the wrong direction if you mess it up.
Exactly. Lead them comically astray, potentially.
Okay, let's unpack this from the ground up then. What exactly are these articles we're talking about, and, why do we even need them?
Yeah.
It feels sometimes like a uniquely English thing to have these little words that don't seem to carry much inherent meaning on their own. Why not just say the noun?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of their function. At their core, articles are actually a type of adjective.
Oh, really? Adjective.
Yeah, which might surprise some people because they don't describe a noun's color or size, right?
Right, not like big or red.
Exactly. Instead, they come before a noun, and their primary function is to specify whether that noun is definite or indefinite. They're like miniature signposts that give you immediate, crucial context about the noun's status, its level of specificity. They're actually doing a lot of heavy lifting, those little guys.
So it really boils down to whether we're talking about anything, maybe one of many, or the specific thing, something that's already known or unique or clearly identified in the conversation.
Exactly. That's the absolute core distinction.
Is that the bedrock?
That's the conceptual bedrock, yeah.
Right.
The fundamental fork in the road for articles specific or non-specific. Everything else really flows from there.
Okay.
We have two main types. The indefinite articles, a and an, which you use when you're referring to something non-specific, general, or maybe introducing it for the first time.
Right.
Then we have the definite article, the, which, well, as its name profoundly suggests, is all about specificity.
Makes sense. Definite.
It points to a particular item, one that is unique or one that's already known and identifiable to both the speaker and the listener. These subtle yet powerful shifts are what make them so indispensable, despite their tiny stature. They determine whether you're talking about just a car that you saw or the car that's parked right outside, the one we both know about.
Big difference in meaning.
Huge difference.
Okay, so first up, our indefinite articles. A and N. These are all about referring to a non-specific or general noun, right?
That's the main job, yes.
When you're introducing something new into the conversation or its specific identity isn't particularly relevant, these are your go-to words. And this is the question that trips up countless English learners. And honestly, Even native speakers get a little fuzzy on it sometimes.
Oh, for
Why
real?
do we have two? What's the, phonetic secret handshake that determines A versus an? It can genuinely feel like a linguistic coin flip if you don't know the trick.
Right. It feels arbitrary, but it's not. It's
Okay.
far less of a coin flick and entirely driven by a fundamental phonetic rule.
Uh,
And it's really designed for maximum ease of pronunciation and flow. You use A before singular countable nouns that begin with a consonant sound.
Sound, not letter.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crucial to stress consonant sound, not necessarily a consonant letter.
Right.
Think about it. Saying a book or a cat just flows smoothly from your mouth.
Yeah.
A house similarly rolls off the tongue without any awkward stops or hitches. The sound matters because English, especially when spoken, really prioritizes smooth transitions and natural articulation over, rigid adherence to spelling.
Yeah, the spoken language comes first in a way, that sound over letter rule. That's where so many of us got tripped up in school. I distinctly remember agonizing over a university versus an hour.
Classic examples.
It feels totally counterintuitive until you grasp that the sound is king. Like when you say university, sounds like university, right?
Exactly. It begins with that U consonant sound, the Jew sound.
So it's a university, not an an.
Correct. And the same goes for a one-way street. It starts with an O, which we typically think of as a vowel.
Right.
But the sound is one, like a W consonant sound, WN.
One. Yeah, okay.
It's a real linguistic magic trick, isn't it, once you understand the underlying principle? Spelling can be deceiving.
Totally.
It absolutely is. The phonetic rule is paramount because English pronunciation, for all its quirks and charms, can diverge quite significantly from its spelling.
Tell me about it.
It's all about making the transition between the article and the following word as smooth and natural as possible when spoken. You wouldn't want to stumble or create awkward glottal stops just because of a silent letter or an unexpected pronunciation.
Right, it would sound choppy.
Yeah, this is a fundamental principle of phonetics, actually.
Right.
It's often called hiatus avoidance. The language naturally works to prevent two vowel sounds from clashing right next to each other.
Huh. Hiatus avoidance.
Yeah, our brains find that harder to process smoothly. So it's like a subconscious optimization for rapid, fluid speech. Conversely, you use an before singular, countable nouns that begin with a vowel sound.
Okay, the flip side.
Exactly. This is where you get phrases like an apple or an elephant.
Mm.
The N in an acts as a tiny, clever buffer,
Like a bridge.
like a little bridge, yeah,
Mhm.
preventing what would otherwise be an awkward pause or clash of vowel sounds. Just try saying an apple quickly. It feels a little clunky, right?
Yeah, you have to sort of stop in the middle. A, apple.
Exactly. The and just slides right in, creating a seamless connection. An apple. Flows perfectly. And what's truly fascinating here, and really cements this sound-based rule, is how sometimes a silent letter, or even an acronym, completely changes the game.
Ah, like the hour example.
Precisely. Take an hour.
Yeah.
The H is completely silent, so the word truly begins with the vowel sound. You're not saying hour because that would be like trying to jump over a linguistic hurdle, phonetically speaking. Similarly, an honest person follows the same logic with its silent H.
Okay.
And then you have acronyms, like an FBI agent.
Mm.
Even though F is a consonant letter, when you pronounce F, it sounds like F.
F starts with E.
Starting with a clear vowel sound data. So an FBI agent sounds infinitely more natural than a FBI agent.
Wow. Yeah, you wouldn't say at FBI agent. Sounds weird.
That sounds very weird. This is where English's sound-centric nature truly shines.
And it makes so much sense when you connect it to the natural rhythm and flow of spoken language. That N in an is pure linguistic lubricant.
Lubricant, that's a good word for it.
It just prevents those awkward pauses or, those glottal stops between vowel sounds. It's truly brilliant how the language itself has evolved for maximum efficiency and fluidity in speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just some arbitrary convention. It's almost like a hardwired efficiency mechanism in our brains for spoken language.
Absolutely. It ensures that spoken English maintains a smooth, continuous flow, which is really a hallmark of natural, effortless communication. And if you've ever tried to learn a language that doesn't have articles, like, say, many Slavic languages or Japanese.
Right, they manage without them.
They do. But you realize just how much heavy lifting these tiny words do in English to convey specificity and generality. It's a different way of structuring information. Okay, so moving beyond just the sound rule, let's talk about the general context where a and an are typically used.
Okay.
One primary use is for non-specific reference. You use a or an When you are talking about something for the very first time, or when its specific identity simply isn't important or relevant to the immediate conversation.
The introduction.
The introduction, exactly.
Yeah.
For example, I saw a bird today. You're not talking about a particular bird, maybe the famous parrot from the zoo,
Right.
but simply any bird that happened to cross your path. It's a new general piece of information being introduced.
And this is how it effectively sets the stage for narrative introduction, isn't it?
Precisely.
You introduce a new character, object, concept, whatever, with A or N, and then once it's firmly in the listener's mental picture, you can seamlessly switch to the later on.
That's the pattern.
It's like a linguistic spotlight moving from just a general area to suddenly illuminating a specific performer on stage.
That's a great analogy. It clearly signals to the listener that new information is being presented, and the specificity will follow, if needed, in the next sentences. Another very common and pretty straightforward context is for occupations.
Ah, yes. Jobs.
You invariably use A or N when referring to someone's job. So you'd say, she is a doctor.
Not the doctor, unless
She's the only doctor or the specific doctor you were just discussing, right?
Yeah.
But generally, you're placing her into a general category or role.
Okay.
You're saying she belongs to the group doctors. It's part of defining their general professional identity.
And we also use them quite dramatically in exclamations with singular countable nouns, which can be quite fun, actually. Adds a real punch.
Definitely.
Like, what a beautiful day. It adds emphasis or surprise, doesn't it? You would never, ever say, what the beautiful day. That just sounds utterly nonsensical.
Completely wrong.
Like you've somehow lost a piece of the linguistic puzzle.
No, it certainly doesn't work at all. The indefinite article a here perfectly expresses a general positive sentiment about a day, which happens to be beautiful.
Right.
It's not pointing to a uniquely beautiful day that you both already specifically know about. It's more about expressing a general impression of this kind of day, a day like this one. Then we have the practical use in fractions, like a quarter or a third.
Okay.
Here, they function almost like numerical quantifiers, representing one.
Right, one part of the whole.
Similarly, they appear consistently in expressions of quantity, such as a lot of, a few, or a little.
Common phrases.
Very common. These phrases use the indefinite article to indicate a general amount rather than a precise or specific number. They give you a broad sense of quantity. And finally, a really important one. They are absolutely vital for concisely expressing per unit measurements or rates.
Ah, like speed limits or frequency.
Exactly. Think about phrases like twice a day or 60 miles an hour. This raises an important question, really. How do these small articles so elegantly and efficiently convey rates and measurements? They effectively communicate the concept of per each, or for every single unit.
Yeah. A day means per day. An hour means per hour.
It's an incredibly economical language, isn't it?
Yeah.
Packing a lot of meaning into just one little letter.
Okay, moving on to this is our definite article, and as we've already sort of hinted, it's all about pinpointing specificity.
The specific one.
Yeah. Whether something is singular or plural, countable or uncountable. If it's specific or already known to both the speaker and the listener, the confidently steps in. It's the linguistic equivalent of pointing directly and decisively at something, leaving absolutely no room for doubt. Like that one.
That's right. The definite article the is used to refer to specific or previously mentioned nouns. It is unequivocally the article of shared understanding.
Shared understanding. I like that.
Yeah. When you use the, you're basically implying a mutual recognition that both you and your listener know exactly which noun you're talking about. This shared context is key.
And how does that context get established?
Well, it can manifest in several ways.
Yeah.
So when do we confidently use they? First, and most obviously, for specific or unique items. If you're referring to a particular item or something that is unique in its given context, they is your unwavering choice.
Like?
For instance, please pass me the book on the table. Here, the immediately tells us you're not asking for just any old book.
Right, but that one over there.
But that one specific, identifiable book that is currently on the table, we can both see it, or we both know which one it is.
Makes sense.
Or consider the sun is shining. There's only one sun in our immediate solar system that we typically refer to, right?
Yep, just the one.
So it's universally unique within our shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
For the President of the United States, it's a unique position at any given time, regardless of who holds it. This shared context can be physical presence,
Yeah.
universal knowledge, or just established common ground in the conversation.
And the shared context idea ties directly into its use for previously mentioned nouns, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's a huge one.
Once a noun has been introduced into the conversation or text using a or an, a becomes its default companion for all subsequent mentions.
It's like tagging it.
Yeah, the classic example, I saw a dog. The dog was barking loudly. You first introduce a dog, making it a new, non-specific entity, but then boom, the dog becomes specific because it's the very one you just mentioned.
We know which dog now.
This is how the masterfully builds continuity in storytelling, isn't it? It weaves that coherent narrative thread.
Precisely. It meticulously creates a linguistic thread that helps the listener follow along, indicating that we're now referring back to something already established in the discussion. Without it, the narrative would feel choppy and disconnected, like you keep introducing new things.
Right, like I saw a dog. A dog was barking. Different dogs. Maybe. Confusing.
Exactly. We also consistently use the before superlative adjectives.
Like biggest, fastest, smartest.
Yep. As in, she's the smartest student in the class. She's not merely smart. She possesses the most intelligence among that specific group, making her uniquely distinguished in that context.
Okay. The top one.
The top one. Similarly, it's employed before ordinal numbers.
Yeah.
First, second, third.
Ah, right.
Like, this is the first time I've been here.
Yeah.
The first implies a unique, specific position within a sequence.
There's only one first.
Exactly. It wouldn't be a first time because there's only one first in any given sequence or experience. It's also consistently used with musical instruments when talking about playing them.
Oh, yeah, that's a funny one. Play the guitar, play the piano.
Exactly. So you'd say, he plays the guitar. Here, we're kind of talking about the instrument as a general category or the concept of playing it.
Not necessarily one specific guitar he owns.
Not necessarily, although it could be.
Yeah.
But the rule applies even when talking generally about this skill. It's almost like the refers to the abstract idea of guitar playing,
Yeah.
or the instrument known as guitar.
Interesting.
And the is universally used for groups of people or nationalities, such as the rich or the French.
Right, referring to the whole group.
Yes. What's truly fascinating here is how the can powerfully collectivize an entire group, defining them by a shared characteristic or origin. It's a highly efficient way to refer to them as a singular conceptual entity.
So the rich as a distinct socioeconomic group or the French as a people.
Exactly, as a unified concept.
Then we have geographical features where these shows up quite often, but with very specific categories that are honestly easy to mix up if you're not paying close attention.
Yes, the geography rules can be tricky.
We use the for rivers, right? Like the Nile or the Amazon.
Correct. Rivers take
We use it for grand mountain ranges such as the Himalayas or the Alps.
ranges, yes. Plural or systems.
Vast deserts too.
Yeah.
The Sahara Desert. Oceans and seas are always in this category. The Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea,
Out there.
and groups of islands like the Bahamas.
Groups, yeah. Like archipelagos.
So what does this all mean for us? It seems that when we're talking about these grand, unique geographical wonders that are often large, well-defined systems or collections of individual features.
Its whole river system or a whole mountain range.
Yeah, the wording is almost always present. It's almost like it becomes part of their proper name, cementing their unique identity.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these are typically singular, universally well-known, and established geographical entities. They are, in a very real sense, unique within their category.
Right.
There's only one Nile River, only one Atlantic Ocean in our common understanding. Hence, the definite article's necessity to unequivocally pinpoint these specific, well-recognized features. It provides absolute clarity, no confusion possible. Another specific use of die is with countries that have plural names.
Like the Netherlands.
Exactly. Or countries containing words like republic, kingdom, or states in their official titles.
Ah, so the United States, the United Kingdom, the Czech Republic.
Precisely. The logic behind these specific country name constructions requiring the is often that they refer to a collection of individual units, like the states forming the U.S.
Okay.
Or they denote a type of governmental structure, republic, kingdom, rather than just a simple, proper place name. They're not just France, but the French Republic, making the republic part a defining and specific characteristic of their name that requires the.
That makes sense. It's specifying the type of entity.
We also use the for public places or facilities when referring to them as institutions.
Okay, like the concept of the place.
Exactly. For instance, the library, the cinema, or the hospital. This is when you're talking about the general concept or service of the place, not necessarily a specific building you just walked into for a singular non-institutional reason.
Hmm. That's a really important distinction, actually. It can often trip people up.
It can be subtle.
Like you might say, I'm going to a hospital for an appointment, meaning you're going to one specific hospital building for a visit.
Right, a specific instance.
But then you discuss the hospital in our town if you're talking about it as a general institution or public service that serves the community.
Terrific example.
Or you go to a restaurant for dinner, but you might talk about the concept of supporting the local cinema as an institution we value.
Exactly. It subtly but crucially shifts the focus from a particular instance to the general entity or the service it provides. It's about the role, not just the physical location at that moment. And lastly, for the, it's used for inventions.
Inventions like...
For example, who invented the telephone? Or the wheel was a major invention.
Okay.
Once an invention is created and becomes a recognized singular entity in our collective shared knowledge, it becomes a unique, specific concept, hence the definite article. There's only one generally understood concept of the telephone or the internet or the light bulb.
Got it. It's become the definitive thing. Okay, so sometimes the most powerful choice when it comes to articles is, well, no choice at all.
Exactly. Doing nothing.
This is what we call the zero article, where we simply don't use I, an, or be. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially after all these rules we've just covered.
It does feel a bit like, wait, there's another option.
But it's absolutely crucial for truly fluent English. In fact, using an article where none is needed can sound just as awkward, maybe even more awkward than omitting one where it is required.
Oh, definitely. It can really stand out.
It can genuinely make a listener scratch their head and think, why did they say "the" there?
That's right. The zero article applies predominantly when we're referring to things in a very general sense, or most commonly with proper nouns.
Okay, generalities and names.
Yeah. It signals a broad category, an abstract concept, or an already uniquely identified item that doesn't need any further specification. It's like the noun is saying, hey, I already know who I am, thank you very much, no article needed.
Huh, confident nouns.
Confident nouns. So when do we confidently use the zero article? First, and this is a big one, with plural countable nouns when talking about things in a general sense.
Plural, general. Okay.
For example, I like books. This doesn't refer to specific books like the ones on your shelf right now.
Right.
But books in general, the entire category of books, the concept of them, or cats are independent, all cats, generally. Now, contrast this directly with the books on that shelf are mine, or the cats next door are noisy.
Big difference.
Huge. In the first instance, I like books. You're making a universal statement about your preference for reading material. In the second, the books, or the cats. You've suddenly made them very specific.
Pinpointed them.
Pinpointed them, the ones on that shelf, the ones owned by your neighbors causing a ruckus. That shift from zero article to the would perfectly highlights the massive difference between generality and specificity.
It's the difference between a philosophical statement and a very specific complaint about your neighbor.
Exactly, a very direct neighborhood complaint.
And it's the exact same logic for uncountable nouns in a general sense.
That's nice. Like, I love music.
Not the music playing now, just music.
Just music as an abstract general concept. Or information is power. Water is essential.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a specific song or piece of information or glass of water, but the general substance or idea.
Right. Emphasizes how we often discuss abstract ideas, mass nouns, general substances broadly, without needing to pinpoint a specific instance. It's about the essence of the thing.
Exactly. The essence. Another absolutely major category for the zero article is proper nouns in most cases.
Names of things.
Names of people, continents, most countries, cities, streets, single lakes, single mountains, parks, holidays.
So John lives in London.
Correct. Not the John lives in the London. That
Yeah,
sounds crazy.
Definitely.
Or Mount Everest is in Asia.
Yeah.
Now, the Mount Everest is in the Asia. And I love Christmas.
Okay.
This raises that important question again. Why don't proper nouns generally need articles?
Because they're already specific.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Delightfully straightforward. They're already inherently specific. Their very name identifies them uniquely, so no additional article is required to specify them further. Adding one would be redundant and just sound quite strange.
Yeah.
We also reliably omit articles for sports, games, and academic subjects.
Okay.
So you'd say, I play basketball, not I play the basketball. And she studies mathematics, not she studies the mathematics.
Right.
These are understood as general activities or fields of study, not specific instances or physical objects requiring an article. Similarly, articles are consistently omitted from meals.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yep.
Mm.
For instance, we usually have dinner at 7 p.m. You're referring to the meal in a general sense, the routine, not a specific plate of food you're about to consume right now.
Okay.
The same rule applies to languages. She speaks English, not she speaks the English.
Got it.
And a very common one for transportation, talking about the method. I go to work by bus, not I go to work by the bus.
Okay. By bus means the method.
Exactly. It describes the method of transport, not a specific individual bus vehicle. If you said, I missed the bus, that would be specific.
Right, that bus I was supposed to catch. Okay.
For diseases, most also take the zero article. For example, he has flu, or she caught measles.
Okay. But wait, don't people say the flu?
Ah, you caught it, yes. There's an important nuance and some truly quirky exceptions here.
Knew it wasn't that simple.
Some diseases do commonly take the, like the flu or the measles or even the mumps.
Why?
Honestly, they're basically historical exceptions in English usage. They've just stuck around. There's not always a clear, logical reason. They're just ones you have to learn.
Fun. Okay, the flu, the measles. Got it.
And we typically use the zero article for seasons. In winter, it snows a lot, or I love spring.
Talking about the season generally.
Exactly. The general time of year, not a specific winter like the winter of 2010. The same applies to abstract nouns when used in a general sense. Happiness is important. Knowledge is power.
The concepts themselves.
Yes. You're talking about the universal concept, not a specific instance or feeling of happiness you had yesterday. And finally, just to reiterate a point we touched on when discussing the, we consistently use the zero article before names of single geographical proper nouns.
So continents, most countries, states, cities.
Exactly. Continents like Europe, Asia, most countries like France, Japan, Brazil, states like California, Texas, cities like Paris, Tokyo, individual streets like Main Street, individual lakes like Lake Superior, and single islands like Maui, Sicily.
Okay.
This powerfully reinforces that distinction we discussed earlier. A singular proper geographical name takes no article because it's already inherently unique.
Right.
Versus groups or ranges or systems of geographical features like rivers, oceans, mountain ranges, island groups, which invariably take the definite article, the.
Got it. So Mount Everest, but the Himalayas. Lake Superior, but the Great Lakes.
Precisely. It's a very valuable connection point for understanding that subtle but critical difference in scope.
Okay, let's unpack this with some real-world examples directly from our sources. This is where it really clicks, I think, for you, our listener.
Seeing it in action.
Yeah, seeing how these rules come alive in everyday sentences. It's one thing to hear the rule explained. It's another entirely to see it in action, clarifying meaning and guiding the listener. So our first example offers a really clear contrast. I saw a cat versus the cat was black. Tell us the story behind those articles again and why that shift is so crucial.
Right. The shift from A to the perfectly illustrates that journey of a noun, doesn't it? From its initial introduction to becoming a specific shared point of reference, I saw a cat introduces a non-specific, singular, countable noun starting with the consonant sound. It's brand new information for the listener.
Just some cat.
Just some random cat. Then immediately, the cat was black, refers back to that previously mentioned specific cat. The listener now knows which cat we're talking about, the one just introduced.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, that cat you just mentioned. Tell me more about that specific cat. If you were to say, I saw a cat was black, it would sound really odd.
Yeah, like maybe you saw two different cats.
Exactly. One you introduced and then another general cat that happened to be black.
Yeah.
That's the power of the bear to create continuity and avoid confusion.
Totally. You bring something into the conversation with a or an, and then boom, the signals it's a known entity. How about she ate an apple versus the apples in this basket are ripe? Another great contrast.
Similar idea, but with a noun and a plural they. She ate an apple implies she ate any apple, one non-specific apple. And we use an because apple begins with a vowel sound.
Okay.
This contrasts sharply with the apples in this basket are ripe, where tha refers to specific identified items within a group, those particular apples that happen to be in this basket.
The ones right here.
Exactly. Maybe the ones we were talking about buying earlier. It's about singling them out from all other apples in the world. If you said she ate the apple, it would imply there was only one apple available, or a specific apple you both already knew about.
Right. And imagine if someone said, I ate an apple, and then you asked, oh, Oh, was the apple good?
Yeah, you'd get a strange look.
Oh.
Because it's the apple now, the specific one they just ate.
Next up, that interesting contrast of I love dogs versus the dogs next door are noisy. This truly highlights the zero article's power for general statements, doesn't it? Makes all the difference in your sentiment.
It absolutely does. I love dogs. Zero article with a plural noun is a general statement. You're expressing a fondness for the entire species, canines in general,
All dogs everywhere.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Conversely, the dogs next door are noisy, uses the to pinpoint a specific set of dogs, the ones belonging to your neighbors.
Those specific culprits.
Right, making it abundantly clear you're not complaining about all dogs, just those particular, often rather vociferous ones. It's the difference between a universal truth about your affection for a species and a very specific statement about a particular noisy group.
It perfectly demonstrates how a tiny article, or the lack of one, completely shifts the implied meaning and scope of your statement from philosophical to a very direct complaint.
Totally changes the feel of it.
And a classic one. He is a student. Remind us of the rule there and why it's so fundamental to describing someone's role or profession.
That's a straightforward, almost automatic application of the occupation rule we mentioned. A student places him into the general category or role, student.
One of many.
He's one among many individuals who hold the status of student. It's not this student unless, again, you've already established which specific student you're talking about. Like, he is the student who won the award.
Right.
If someone asked, what does he do? And you replied, he is the student, it would sound like there's only one student in existence, or maybe in the whole school, which would be quite the funny misunderstanding.
Yeah, definitely odd. Then we have the Pacific Ocean is vast. This one feels obvious, perhaps, but it's important to understand why the is essential there.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of the use for unique, specific geographical features. There's only one Pacific Ocean, right?
As far as I know.
And it's a universally known singular entity on our planet. The indicates its definitive and unique nature, distinguishing it from any other body of water. You wouldn't say a Pacific Ocean is vast,
No.
because that would imply there are multiple Pacific Oceans, which would be quite the geographical revelation and quite confusing.
And finally, I listened to music. This one reminds us of that general uncountable noun rule. Zero article for general concepts.
Indeed. You're talking about music as a broad concept, as a general form of art or entertainment.
Not specific music.
Not a specific song, album, or artist that's playing right now. You're just enjoying the general idea or activity of listening to sounds. If you said, I listen to the music, it would imply a very specific set of music that you both knew about.
Like the music we talked about yesterday or the music coming from next door?
Exactly. The zero article here ensures you convey that general appreciation or activity. What's truly fascinating here is how quickly these patterns, while they might seem intricate when you list them all out like this,
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of rules.
it does. But they become intuitive with practice. With consistent exposure and application, you can almost feel the difference in specificity that these tiny words convey. It stops being a conscious grammatical decision.
And becomes more instinctual.
Yeah, it becomes an almost instinctual linguistic choice, like a fluent dancer who doesn't consciously think about each individual step, they just flow.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you navigate the intricate world of English? When you're deciding on the, or even no article at all?
The big decision point.
Yeah. Remember to consider 3 key things directly distilled from our source material. First, is the noun specific or non-specific?
The core question.
Are you pointing to something unique, or are you simply introducing something new or referring to it generally? Second, is it singular or plural?
Crucial distinction.
Yeah, this will guide your choice between ahan, which are only for singulars, and the or the zero article, which can often be used for both, depending. And third, is it countable or uncountable?
Another key factor.
This again helps distinguish when to use aan, only with countable nouns, versus the or the zero article, which can apply to both types. These 3 questions are like your linguistic compass.
Your navigational stars.
Exactly. Your navigational stars in the sometimes tricky galaxy of English articles. Keep asking those 3 questions. Hopefully this deep dive has given you some truly satisfying aha moments.
Hope so.
And maybe a newfound appreciation for these often overlooked but incredibly important parts of English grammar. They really are the invisible scaffolding of clarity, aren't they? Scaffolding, yeah. Or the subtle guides. The subtle guides that make our sentences precise and our communication truly fluent and accurate. Mastering them truly is crucial
Absolutely.
for both understanding what others mean and expressing yourself with nuance and confident precision. It's about being understood exactly as you intend. No more, no less.
And, this raises an important question to maybe leave our listeners with. If we reflect on how these small articles, these tiny words, so profoundly shape clarity and precision in our everyday language, how might paying closer attention to every word we use, even the smallest conjunctions or prepositions, transform not just our grammar, but the very precision and nuance of our thoughts and expressions?
That's a deep thought.
What other linguistic tools are we perhaps taking for granted that hold immense, often hidden, power in shaping how we communicate and even how we think?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it, to consider the silent architects of our meaning, the small things that do the heavy lifting.
It really is. Something to definitely ponder. Thanks for that deep dive today.
My pleasure. Always fascinating to unpack the nuts and bolts of language.